So one of the key points to launching this kind of app is you need to have a lot of good instructions. So I think it's important to emphasize that you need to probably begin to write things down. So you need to write down how, step by step, how to do this kind of process. So you need to, inside your Google Doc, probably have a tab, and it's something like remember or don't forget, remember, or instructions, okay, or steps. And then you can have step 1, step 2, step 3, and it might be something like step 1, check the template, right? And then it might be copy, template, X times, right? And then you might have something else like in the administration page, update teacher list, for example. You have these instructions so that in the future, when other people come and have to complete the same process, they're not stuck trying to figure out how this all works. Rather, they can very quickly get up to speed on this kind of thing. Remember, the goal here on our launch is to have non-coders, right? Non-programmers, non-technical people be able to do this. That's the whole goal. We want to avoid complexity on the programming side. We might have to spend time at the beginning, and we need to debug, we need to get things working, and it looks complicated. But compared to actually writing software and upkeeping the software and modifying the software, this is much better because we can make all of those changes to the things like the forms, especially the forms, and the database is much easier by using the Google approach. Now for the launch, even for your simple approaches where you just have 3 documents, not to mention for situations where you have complicated ones where you may have 100 documents, if you have 100 different users you need to make your Google Docs for. I think an important part in this kind of thing is during the launch, you need to really do some testing first. So before you copy 100 right, files, maybe just copy 1 or 2. And then go ahead and test. And I think it's super important in this kind of situation to test with people you don't know. And people who don't know about this situation, don't know about the process. So they really don't know anything. And then you tell them, okay, here is a page. I need you to go to that page, and your job is to apply for a TA-ship, or your job is to borrow some equipment, or your job is to play this role-playing game. And you need that person to go in there and really give it a try, fresh and new. And they're going to find things that are wrong. And lots of things they're going to find are the simple things, like the writing is wrong, something's not clear, the instruction's not right, something like that. If you look over at our pages here, you can see that the page has the logo on it, and then after a lot of testing, the office came up with these instructions to keep things simple and clear. At first they had longer instructions and professors got confused or frustrated. Why do I need to read so much? And they simplified the look, they changed the colors of the different areas, and they really worked hard through testing. And you can see what we ended up with here is very simple interface. But that's not by accident, that's because they worked on it carefully. If we look at the student side, we also have something that's very straightforward. They figured out that they need the personal information, important dates to remind the students of dates not to miss. And again, this is great. These dates are all grabbed from the database. There's nothing here in the empty file. It's just code that imports the range from the database. So everything can be changed. And in the future, we don't need to change anything on this page. We just need to copy a new one. And here are the classes that this student's been approved for. That's simple, very easy. This wasn't done by accident. That's the weekly reports there. This wasn't done by accident. This was after a lot of testing. And in fact, I think in this case, they began with too much complexity and they simplified and simplified by getting users' feedback. So always try to test and get feedback from unexperienced users, people who are not on your team, and test it out. You need to give yourself some lead time. Often we use a semester for testing. So if you're in an office or a small company, I would think you might want to plan for a month of testing. That gives you 3 to 4 weeks of testing because you need to really iterate, change the design again, change the design, and you need to modify and keep testing. Of course, you also need to debug the code. And the only way you can find bugs in your code is to keep trying different combinations. And so debugging is also something that you're going to need your more experienced people to do because you're writing the codes such as the query codes or the select codes or the import range codes. All of those you're going to need a little bit of experience. But don't forget, the AI can be a huge help here because the AI is very talented in doing these kinds of jobs. If you take a query you have or a select command or an import range command and you feed it into ChatGPT, for example, and you ask it to find errors or improve it, it will do a very good job at that. Now, if you ask the AI to solve all your problems together, that's going to get too confusing. But if you tell it exactly what you want to do, then it can be very helpful in fixing these kinds of issues. Okay, so that's a case study that's a little bit more complicated. It's much more of an idea, and maybe you have some ideas, so I encourage you to make things more and more complicated because in the end, it makes it more and more simple to solve your problems, increase efficiency, and lower error rates. Good luck.